6 years since the creation of this department. Usually when people turn 6, they graduate from kindergarten, they go on to first grade, they're ready to start, big time schooling. So I think Department of Homeless Supportive Housing is graduating from kindergarten. I think they're going to get a commission. This is long overdue. And I think that it's also a department that ramped up over time. It started smaller. It spent time consolidating other departments. And Supervisor Peskin, longest serving member on this board, someone I've learned tremendously from. One of the things that he's overemphasized, if he's the supervisor emeritus on this board, is checks and balances. And the executive, everyone understands in the city, the mayor proposes the budget. They control the direction of the city through the allocation of funding. It's our job here at the Board of Supervisors to help shape that policy discussion and help shape the direction of that. And we usually tinker around the edges ultimately.
Oh my God.
Helping with the policy, and we do provide that check. We took language, just to respond to some of the comments today. We took the language of 60-day approval from other commissions. I think that strikes the right balance. I think that there should be a time limit where we then respond, but not too short that in case we're on recess that we're not able to respond to something that's important. And as supervisor, I think there's been once or twice that I have sent a letter and requested someone then to be, to have a firm conversation around. At the pleasure versus term appointments, I'm definitely open to that conversation. Again, as former chair of the Rules Committee, I think once people get on commissions, they usually don't want to ever leave. And that's the nature of having authority and say. It's one of the reasons why we have term limits in society, and I think it works really well. So I'm definitely open to that. Since this is not going to be the final round of amendments that I'm proposing, definitely open to that conversation. Just to be clear on the two other, the Homeless Coordinating Committee and the Shelter Monitoring Committee, I see the point Supervisor Peskin is trying to make and agree with it regarding the Shelter Monitoring Committee. I don't want there to be additional advising other than what was already approved by the voters. And Our City, Our Home was put in front of the voters in a very clear way. And so they have that authority. It's something that they have been doing. So that's why I'm happy to balance that out. I think that's a good proposal to say they can continue to advise the board and the mayor, but they will then, primarily advise the commission for this new chartered commission, and they can work in coordination. I think if the Sheltering Monitoring Committee were to continue to be appointed the way it is, as you talked about, Chair Peskin, I think it would still need to advise the commission. I think the advising portion is what's important there. Same with the local homeless coordinating committee. They can continue to advise. They can advise the commission. So let's keep that conversation going. And also, since we're calling balls and strikes this morning, the executive branch did not want this commission. This was not my first. This rendition was the first rendition. This was proposed by Supervisor Haney. The mayor's office asked, as was reported in the Chronicle story, they asked this body not to support a commission. They wanted the ability
exactly, and you didn't support it either.
Continue to advise this department. We gave them that time.
Oh my fucking God.
As I said, I think it's important that now we have made the decision as this body, and I feel strongly about it, that the board is leading this conversation. That is why I put this forward. I felt it was important.
No, you just put it forward for yourself, dumbass.
And what we felt was the best policy for the city and the best policy for this department. So the mayor's office has given some feedback, and we appreciate their input. The Department of Homeless Supportive Housing has given some feedback, and we appreciate their input, as have a number of the people that have spoken.
You just like
today.
hearing yourself talk,
I think we're going to get to the right point. Feel strongly at the end of the day about mayoral majority. I think that is
Fucking
an
A,
important
just
thing
shut the
based on
fuck up.
a lot of the arguments that have been made today about the budget, the direction, ultimate, where the accountability stops. And I agree with Supervisor Mandelman, do not want to propose something that would then slow things down further and dilute.
It's not slowing things down.
So,
it's getting this shit right.
The Shelter Monitoring Committee Supervisor, I'm happy to entertain that idea about the appointment still being by board, but I would want the advising to still go to the commission. I think that's a fair compromise. The 60-day approval, I think, is written well. I think that strikes a good balance. Open to term appointments, that is something that could definitely make sense. So let's talk further about that. And the local homeless coordinating board, I think, has certain requirements from the federal level. I don't know if that is as important in terms of the appointment. I think we could change and go with the commission there. And then to you, Supervisor Chan, I think you also brought up the 60-day approval. You talked about your appointments. You also talked about the term limits. And then I think I've addressed most of your concerns, Supervisor Mandelman. I would just say, on your point that you want to pull out and vote separately on, the voters of San Francisco put that forward to us. And we put that in that ballot measure. And so we're following the will of the voters of San Francisco there. So I would say that's why I'm happy to entertain a joint advising role.
So a couple of things before I